Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days. Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days. Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days.
Win your league, stack that bread, or start a boom and lose instead. Sunday Surefire, let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sunday Surefire podcast. I'm your host, the Commish. Joining me today is the co-host, my man, Ethan Weaver.
Commish, how we doing?
Doing great, man. This is the best part of the calendar for me, man. On the whole NFL slate, it's redraft week. This is the time of year we all fell in love with fantasy football. And I know we talk a lot of dynasty around here, and I freaking love that so much. But tonight, we're not talking any dynasty. We're just talking redraft for one night. We're talking about our favorite players that you can draft in your redraft leagues, hopefully this coming week. And that these are the guys that are going to be drafting. We're going to go outside the top 50 in ADP per Fantasy Pros, 1 QB data, half PPR scoring formats. And we're going to be talking about guys, one guy from each of us at every position that we absolutely love at their current cost. So really excited to get into that, Ethan. Anything to add, I guess, before we get going here? Are you excited as I am for draft season to be in full swing?
Of course, this is the best time of year. It's the weather's starting to turn a little bit. It's been a little cooler in the mornings, and you can just tell football is going to be in the air pretty soon here. September 4th is approaching very quickly, and like you said, redraft season is just so fun. I got one draft already under my belt. I have a bunch more, so looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, it's going to be a great week. Can't wait to get to it. But let's get to it here with these guys here that we're talking about. We're starting with the quarterback position. Who do you think is going to crush at their current ADP at the quarterback spot? Who do you want to plant your flag on?
Okay, so I think the guy I actually wanted to plant my flag, you took, but this is a close second place here.
Great minds, but go on.
But this is a guy that he went undrafted in my first redraft league, and I think he can crush. Honestly, I learned a lot in that first redraft league, and the quarterbacks that went in the last round are undrafted. I'd be happy as my starting quarterback this season. The guy I'm talking about is J.J. McCarthy. I mean, the Kevin O'Connell offensive scheme just produces high-end quarterback play. It produces high-end receivers, running backs, all the above. He's just a great offensive mind. J.J. McCarthy has more talent than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was awesome last year. He ended up QB9 in that system. He had 9 top 9 scoring performances last year. He was just locked and loaded, and a guy you could be very much happy with in your lineup week in and week out. And I just think J.J. McCarthy offers more rushing floor than Sam Darnold ever will. So you kind of have that hidden upside. I'm not exactly sure how much J.J. McCarthy is going to run this year, but we know he is a capable runner and has the athleticism to do so. So if he can pick up an extra 2-3 points a week, that'll be huge. But I mean, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison when he comes back from suspension, T.J. Hawkinson, the run game, I just think it's wheels up for a guy like J.J. McCarthy. I know a bunch of people, some people in the industry are very, very high on him. I just think a guy that is going at this point potentially undrafted. I mean, right now he's overall 130, QB 19. So I mean, at that point, you're definitely probably undrafted outside Superflex redraft leagues. So I mean, if you just want to punt the quarterback position, I'm okay with plugging in JJ McCarthy week 1. And honestly, you'll figure it out pretty quick if he's gonna go down the Sam Darnold path or just fall flat in his face. But I think it's wheels up for him.
Yeah, McCarthy's a good one. He's a guy that I've been pretty high on this offseason as well. I wrote up a piece on a site that I work for, Dynasty League Football, known as DLF. He was one of the 2 quarterbacks I discussed as a undervalued player. Check out that piece there on dynastyleaguefootball.com. If you're a member, and if you're not, you should be. If you're playing Dynasty. But I love him in a redraft as well. He's a great call out. All you said, everything you said. The system's great. The weapons are great. The system has been great for other quarterbacks with lesser talent. So tie it all together. If you can take him in one of the last rounds of your draft, it's going to be great, even for a redraft. Even if it takes a couple of weeks for him to really get his feet wet in the early going, you could easily grab him as your second quarterback and pair him up with someone else. Maybe even this guy that I'm going to bring up as my quarterback, who Ethan already said that he liked right off the top of the episode, which I like to hear. That's my guy, Dak Prescott here, going ADP 97, good for QB 12 at the moment. And listen, this is another guy who's got a lot of really good skill players. We know the names. CeeDee Lamb, they trade for George Pickens this offseason. Jake Ferguson's a rock-solid tight end as well. The newly promoted head coach there from offensive coordinator to head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, has been there for 2 seasons as the OC. So we know what this offense looks like with him running the show. In the 2 years Schottenheimer was the offensive coordinator, Dak Prescott played 18 games where he was out there for at least 90% of the snaps. So taking out games that were complete blowouts where he gets pulled or games he left early due to injuries or didn't play, okay? In those 18 games where Dak played at least 90% of the snaps, Dallas threw the ball an average of 39 times per game. That rate would have been the highest in the league in both 2023 and 2024. And I think that's relevant here because of how Dallas doesn't have in their running back room. They got Miles Sanders.
Stud.
They got Javonte Williams, who I could make a case. We're not talking about him tonight. At least I'm not. But I could make a case for him being a sleeper late enough, sure. But he hasn't been able to hang on to a job and be like the leader of a running back room in several years since his injury. And then we got guys like Jaden Blue, who's a rookie, who's missing time, hasn't been out there, and I'm blanking on the other guy, Deuce Vaughn, who is in the mix as well. Guys that.
So he's probably he might get cut anyways too, Deuce Vaughn. But yeah, he's not bringing much to the table.
Correct. Very possible he's not even on the roster. So again, a collection of misfit toys in some ways. And I just think that based on Dallas's recent history with this offensive scheme, the moves that they've made going out and get George Pickens, and the moves they haven't made in their running back room, I just think there's no way that the team doesn't throw the ball more. And every year we see a quarterback crack the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks who doesn't do it with their legs. I think the 2 guys that have the best chance to do that at their current ADP are Dak Prescott and J.J. McCarthy. Even though it's yet to be seen exactly what J.J. can do with his legs, he's going to be a passer first before a primary runner. So I really like Dak Prescott at his ADP, Ethan.
No, I love it too. I mean, he went super late in my first redraft league. I think it was almost like last round. People are just soured on Dak Prescott. I mean, if Dak Prescott is healthy, with the weapons he has at his disposal, I'd be shocked if he wasn't a top 8 quarterback, especially in 6-point per passing touchdown formats. I think Dak is locked and loaded. As you said, with the running backs behind him, I think they're going to be throwing the ball all over the yard. So it's I'm excited for Dak. And as I said before, like, I mean, if I knew Dak and guys like JJ were going to fall as far as they did, I probably would have just punted quarterback, which I kind of did anyways, but I probably would have even waited a little longer.
Yeah, fair enough. And last point on Dak, the best part about having him on your fantasy team and paying attention and watching him every single week is you just have the best cadence in the league history, man. It's still, yeah, okay, here we go. And you just know good things are going to happen for your fantasy team.
Not for Dallas, though. Not for Dallas.
No. Now, Dallas can go a solid like 8-9, miss the playoffs, and Dak can be like QB4 for fantasy. That'd be great. Best case scenario for everybody. But that's what we got for quarterbacks here for you folks. Ethan, hit me with your wide receiver that you're planting your flag on firmly this offseason.
This is a guy that is steadily building up steam, and he's a guy I've been high on for months. I brought him up months ago as a guy I really liked for the 2025 season. Right now, he's going overall 89, wide receiver 40, and I'm sure this is going to shoot way up, but it's Ricky Pearsall, San Francisco 49ers. Wide receiver 1 right now. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk coming back from a pretty significant knee injury. Juwan Jennings, calf issues right now. So it's essentially Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle at this point. Now, they just traded for Sky Moore, actually, which kind of tells you the dire need they are in due to all the injuries they've been having. But Ricky Pearsall, for a first-round pick not too long ago. He was a rookie last year. Obviously, we all know the story where he got shot. It took him a while to obviously recover from that and get back assimilated in the offense. And he went off in week 17, 18. He was wide receiver 7 and 14 in those weeks with 10 and 8 targets. In week 17, he had I think he had around 100 I know he had over 100 yards, like 140 yards or something like that, but he went off. He had a touchdown in week 18. He played very, very well, and I expect that to continue. I know Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy, they've gotten a lot of work together this summer, a full off season to work together. And he's a first round pick in a Kyle Shanahan offense. And he's going to have the opportunity to be the wide receiver one right off the rip. And I think he holds on to that for the majority of the year, if not the entirety of the year. Because I think Brandon Ayuk, I love Ayuk, but receivers coming off knees, historically speaking, never just come back and crush. It takes time. Usually it's a lost year. Jennings already has calf issues. Who knows if Jennings is another guy that late in drafts could be a steal if he can come back fully healthy. But a guy like Ricky Pearsall, I'm very high on, and he's the guy, if I can get at his current ADP, wide receiver 40, I'd be very happy.
This is such an easy one, Ricky Pearsall. I mean, like you said, ADP WR40 is crazy. I'm okay taking him 10 plus spots higher than that, if I'm being honest with you, if I'm ranking
easily.
And you probably have to actually do that when it comes time to click the button on your draft, and you should do it. I mean, if you can get him as a WR3 at all, it's a discount. You should take it. And I see the target concentration coming around Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle in this offense, with the other guys filtering in when they're able to play and get back out there in the cases of Ayuk and hopefully Jennings getting back on the field soon. But I'm with you on that one wholeheartedly. That's kind of one that's not so much sneaking up on people at this stage of your drafts. But if there is a dip to be had still in your drafts, you should absolutely buy it if you can. If you can get him as a WR3, you should do it. I'm going to go to another guy who I think is also being ranked currently as a WR3, who I think there's a little bit of value baked into. That's Calvin Ridley, who's ADP 70, WR30 overall. I think that if you look at Ridley here, it's just one of the easier bets to outperform his ADP. He's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and he did that in 2024 with some absolutely horrendous quarterback play in the form of Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. I mean, I don't know that Cam Moore is going to come in and be amazing. I have no idea. He's a rookie. We'll see. But I know he's going to be better than what those two guys were a season ago. In 2024, PFF had both Rudolph and Levis are ranked outside the top 30 in their quarterback grades. So even if you bake in some rookie growing pains for Ward, he's got to be better than that, guys. There's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the league, and both of them are outside the top 30. So pretty bad. And also, if you look around the rest of this room, the depth chart, they have an ancient version of Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, Chimeri Dyke, and then a rookie in Edelmanner, who I like a little bit as a raw prospect, but I don't see him doing a ton. At least the usurp Calvin Ridley as the unquestioned alpha in this passing attack. Last point here on them. If you look at the Titans defense, they gave the third most points to opposing defenses a season ago. They have made some moves in free agency in the draft to try to kind of fix that. But if that new group of players can't gel together quickly, I think the Titans could be in for a lot more shootouts than we can maybe expect at this particular point in time going into the season. And if that happens, look out. It's going to be a perfect storm for fantasy for Calvin Ridley to absolutely feast and at a minimum at least outperform his current WR30 price tag.
This is another very, very easy call, and I think it's a very popular call at this point in the game. I mean, how many targets is Calvin really going to have? It's going to be north of probably 135, 140. I mean, there's nobody else to really throw the ball to. I mean, you ask the average casual redraft fantasy football player to name another receiver outside Calvin Ridley on the Titans. I don't know if they could. Because
maybe if they know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if they know the Lockett trade, that's honestly all I think they'd be able to get. And that it's just kind of it's a barren wasteland there in Tennessee at the receiver position. So, and Cam Ward, I mean, can make all throws, rocket arm. They're going to be behind. He's going to have to throw the ball to somebody, and it's going to be Calvin Ridley. So Calvin Ridley, even if he is the most inefficient receiver in the game this year on his targets because of multitude of reasons, he's going to produce.
Yes, sir. Volume is king in fantasy, and they say that for a reason. And I think it could be. I don't care how inefficient you are either. If you're getting the rock slung your way 130, 140 times. So glad we're in agreement on that one as well. But let's kick it over to running back. Position can be a little bit more volatile. A lot of injuries in this position here, but who can managers pivot to outside the top 50 at running back and feel good about?
Honestly, a guy that I've been growing more and more in love with as this redraft season comes into play here and more in the focus is Jordan Mason, running back of the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, overall 90, RB 32. And I obviously discussed the offense earlier and how it's a great offensive scheme. They're one of the top offenses in the league. And Jordan Mason is going to profile as the grinder and potentially the goal line back. I know Aaron Jones is pretty good at the goal line, but Aaron Jones obviously getting older. Aaron Jones hasn't been the definition of health in his career, and Jordan Mason is he's been when he's given the opportunity, he's been a good running back. I mean, Mason appeared in 12 games last year. He had 153 carries for 789 rushing yards. That was 5.2 yards per carry, and that ranked, I believe, 6th out of all running backs. He was just very good. He ranked 3rd in rushing yards over expected per attempt, plus 1.38. He had the 14th best elusive rating, and he had a very good explosive play rating as well. So Jordan Mason was efficient with his touches. He made the most out of his touches, and he was explosive. And I think the Vikings offense, I mean, there really hasn't been that between the tackles grinder on this offense for a little while now. I mean, Aaron Jones basically took the majority of carries last year. And there's, in my opinion, I think there is a clear path to a very sizable workload for Jordan Mason this year. And where you're getting him in drafts, I think he's going to have weekly touchdown upside. He's in one of the league's top offenses. So he's a guy that obviously popped last year for the 49ers. And I think he's a guy that can be a very integral piece to this Minnesota Vikings offense.
Yeah, they made it a point to go out and trade for him as well. This wasn't just like a scrap heap free agent signing. I know they didn't give up a whole hell of a lot in the trade. I think it was a swap of a 6th-round pick or something like that. But they still identified a guy they wanted to go out there and go get and fortify this running back room a little bit. Oddly enough, Aaron Jones did play 17 games a season ago, but now on the wrong side of 30. I mean, are we going to bet that that's going to happen again? History would tell us that's unlikely. So I'm with you on this one as well. I like Mason. Standalone value. If McCarthy really is moving this offense as well as we think he's going to, it's going to be plenty of scoring upside. And who knows? Maybe it turns into more of a closer to a 50-50 split, and he has standalone value. And if Father Time does show up and hits Aaron Jones hard this year, maybe Mason's a guy who's a league winner. So where you're getting him outside the top 90 players, I like him a lot in that spot. And I think he's a good pick at where you can get him in drafts at the moment. Well, I'm going to go another guy, and I know he's going to agree on this one as well. And I'm playing into his and my own, if I'm being honest. Patriots homerism a little bit here. And that's fine. That's fine. We're allowed to do that once in a while on here. We said a lot of negative things about the Pats while they were really bad the last few years. So we owe it to him to be a little bit nice to him once in a while. So let's do just that. I'm going to go Travion Henderson here. ADP 55, good for RB 22. Still sliding into the back end of the RB category. I'm happy to take him there. If you watch him play at all, he's looked the part in the preseason games that the team's played in, and it's in some of the joint practices as well. Some of the tape is out there from those. We're definitely worth checking out. Looks explosive. Took a kick return to the house on his first NFL touch, which is always a good thing. Also showing some promise in the passing department, catching the ball, which is always nice for fantasy. I know it's going to be a committee with Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think Ramondre is just going to go away, but I think this is probably better for Henderson's health in the long run too. And we saw him work in tandem last season with Quinshon Judkins at Ohio State, and worked great for those guys and for the football team, bringing home a national championship. I think he's a guy who doesn't necessarily need 300 plus carries to go ahead and succeed. I think if he got that, he might start to break down. So I think they're going to split the carries, but I think Henderson's going to be involved enough in the passing game where if this team falls behind at all, which they might in some of these games, that he's going to be the guy on the field catching check down passes from Drake May. And I also think as time goes on here, he will take more of the workload as the games get more important down the stretch. And then the games get more important for us fantasy managers as well at that time. So he's a guy I still think if there is around 5 upside in him, if you can grab him there, do it. I'm willing to even go ahead and take him around early if I can in round 4. I know that might be tough. We're playing leagues where we are here in New England, where people are obviously he's a very hyped up player in these parts. So the price might be elevated in here, but if outside of New England based leagues, he could really be a good value in round 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I wish he was RB 22 in my home leagues, but that's just not the case. We're currently in our Sunday Surefire best ball draft, and he just went at 311. So the value is not really there for Henderson at this point. I mean, but I think he's going to be an absolute just monster this year. I think the Patriots hit it out of the park with that draft selection. It's usually not the case for offensive players with the New England Patriots, but Trayvon Henderson. He's another guy. When I saw your list of players, I literally was like, wow, that's literally the 4 players I was potentially going to talk about, and he's just the guy that I would try to get in all my drafts. Just an explosive athlete, a guy that can do, I mean, so much when he gets the ball in his hands. And as you said, we've been seeing it already in the preseason. So Trayvon Henderson, he's a guy that I want in redraft, dynasty, best ball, all the above.
Hell yeah. Hopefully he can finally hit, the Pats can finally hit on an offensive skill player. But more of that on another night. We got one more position here to round out. We both got one guy left. Who's your tight end that you're playing your flag on?
So this is a guy that I'm very high on, and he is a tight end that you can get a little later in drafts. Outside, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to spend up on a McBride or a Bowers or a Kittle. Granted, I mean, would I love Bowers, McBride, Kittle? Of course, but depending on where you draft, in my opinion, if you draft in, sometimes it works in your favor. If you have a top 3, top 4 pick, you're going to have a chance at Trey McBride at the beginning of the 3rd round, maybe end of the 2nd round. And same with Bowers. Maybe Bowers slips to the end of the 2nd. I haven't really seen that too much. But if you can't get one of those top 3 elite guys, I mean, I'm okay waiting in the position. And one of my targets in every single draft is David Njoku. Joe Flacco was just named the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, which I think is very, very good for his outlook. I mean, Joe Flacco and him, I mean, produced some league-winning upside a couple of years ago when Flacco was still on the rock to David Njoku. But you just look at Njoku and what he's been done. I mean, what he's done. I mean, his targets per route run, I mean, 23.7% targeted on his routes run. That's ranking amongst the top tight ends. I mean, his first read frequency is 21.7%. Again, that's ranks right towards the top of all tight ends. And last year he only played in 11 games and he had 97 targets. I mean, they like to throw the ball to David Njoku. And when I look at my tight ends for fantasy, I like to have a tight end that's either the number 1 or the number 2 option. It's you don't see it in very many teams. Obviously, like McBride, Bowers, Kittle, number one options on all 3 of those guys for the most part. But then you got David Njoku with Judy and Njoku, and he's gonna get his targets. Like I said, 97 targets in just 11 games last year. And he had 5 top 5 finishes last year and 7 top 10 finishes. So he's just week in and week out. David Njoku is going to give you top 5 upside, and he's just an uber athletic tight end in an offense that likes to feature him. So especially, I mean, if you're a Judy detractor, I mean, hey, David Njoku could be the number 1 target there, which, I mean, I think Judy's going to have another killer year. But David Njoku, he's a guy that I'd very much be happy to have on my fantasy team later in drafts. He's good right now. He's going off the board, tight end 9, overall 88. So for a guy, like I said, that I think is going to be a top 5 tight end this year, it's not bad ADP there.
Yeah, I like Njoku the player a lot. Do I have my quarterback concerns? Yeah, I do. The best case for him is that Flacco gets a nice long runway to begin the season. I think that's the best case scenario because we saw him absolutely smash with Joe Flacco a couple of years ago, and Flacco came off the couch and started slinging the rock around at the end of the season. I think that's best case scenario. So I think you can definitely get some early utility out of him while the Browns are still, at least in theory, competing for what as much as they're going to be able to contend this year. I saw one graph saying they had like a less than 1% chance to win their division, which is crazy.
Their schedule is brutal in the first 7-8 games. I don't think it's probably not. They're probably not going to start off too hot.
I agree. They're probably not going to start off too hot, but that does lead to negative game scripts, which leads to more passing. And I think, like you kind of referenced it, the targets, no matter who's playing quarterback, have to get funneled to Njoku and to Jerry Jeudy because there's not really much else going on there. I'm willing to leave the light on for Cedric Tillman, who's a deep stash candidate of mine as well. But I mean, I don't think this team's going to have 3 guys that are fantasy viable from week to week. I just don't see that, no matter how many points they're down by in the first quarter. So I like to call it on Njoku. It's a kind of a long roundabout way of saying that, especially if Flacco starts games, then I think you're really in business, and hopefully he gets a nice long run out. So where we talk about Njoku is an established guy. He's in his 8th or 9th year at this point. I'm going back to another rookie here. I think rookies do tend to make for good breakouts in redraft just for a number of reasons. One, they're technically unproven commodities, so a lot of redraft managers are really only focusing in around this time, so they don't really know all these rookies like you do if you play Dynasty or if you're just a more keyed into football fan year round. So, and if you are one of those people, you know who Tyler Warren is, so you're not going to be shocked when I talk to you about him. Who's currently going 106 overall, tight end 11. He's my favorite value target by a mile at tight end. And I mean, we also, for years and years, forever, it was like rookie tight ends take time. They have to develop. They got to come along and, find their footing because they have a lot of responsibilities on the football field and yada, yada, yada. And all that's true, but in the last 2 years, we've been spoiled with rookie tight ends. Between 2023, Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers a season ago, these guys have come into the league and stolen the show. Ward's an older player. He's 23 years old as a rookie, so he should be NFL ready to go from day one. And I'm not going to go as far as to say he's going to finish as tight end 1 overall like those other guys did, but I can see him being a guy who gives you top 5 tight end upside, who's going outside the top 100 picks. And if you look at the guys that he's competing with in that tight end room for targets, it's an absolute joke. It's guys like Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox out there. Warren is the best version of an NFL caliber tight end this Indianapolis Colts team has had in years by a mile. So couple that with guys like Josh Downs already banged up. Michael Pittman is more of an X wide receiver who played 73% of his snaps out wide in 2024. Doesn't really impact what Warren's going to do over the middle of the field. I think he just puts plenty of opportunity to feast. And I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan in the world, to be honest with you, but I do think he's better for the pass catchers in Indy than someone like Anthony Richardson, who could do some damage with his legs, but it was not good at all at moving the ball through the air, and it killed this team last season when he was given a long runway to play. So give me all that said here, I'll take Tyler Warren outside the top 100 picks, especially if I'm punting on tight end and waiting. This is a guy that if I'm being patient at the position, I have to leave my drafts with.
Agree completely. He's if I leave every redraft league with him as my tight end and I can get him as late as this ADP, I'd be ecstatic. And as the weeks go on, his ADP is going to grow. But Tyler Warren, you're not only getting a guy that is going to be, I think, heavily targeted by Daniel Jones. When I did hear the Daniel Jones news, I was very excited for my Tyler Warren shares because I just think Daniel Jones is a better passer of football than Anthony Richardson. I was listening to a podcast actually today, and they were talking about like some Indianapolis Colts insiders. The rumblings were essentially saying that this really was never a huge quarterback competition per se between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. It was essentially Daniel Jones' job, and Stefanski came out and said, hey, Daniel Jones is our starter. He didn't just say he was a starter. He said he is the starter. This is a long-term solution. He will be our starting quarterback for the year, is what obviously they're intending. Obviously, if things go off the rails, who knows here? Maybe Richardson gets a shot. But I'm excited for Tyler Warren with Daniel Jones at the helm. I think Tyler Warren is going to get hyper-targeted. He was hyper-targeted at Penn State. I mean, I believe at over 100 receptions his last year there. And he's just a guy that can do it all. Great blocker. Can align him up anywhere on the field. So he really doesn't need to come off the field at all. And he's a guy I'm very excited for. And he's definitely a later round target at the tight end position. As I said, if I don't get those top 3 guys, I'm more than happy to walk away with Tyler Warren.
Yeah, absolutely. Warren's great. I think he's going to be awesome for fantasy purposes. And I was a big Colston Loveland guy all offseason in Dynasty, and I still am. I think he's going to be good. But for redraft purposes for 2025, I mean, I would take Tyler Warren pretty easily over Loveland just based on the lack of target competition.
Oh, 100%. And I like Loveland too. And it's just tough for 2025. I mean, you just have those three. You have Luther Burden, Odunze, DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet on top of obviously Loveland. So it just makes it tough in redraft. But I do think Loveland's future is very bright.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a bonus one for future years. Maybe that's an early sneak peek at 2026 flag plants at the tight end position. But that's what we have for you folks as far as 2025 flag plants here. These are fun one. This is always a fun episode for us because it's one where we say a lot of things. We have a lot of takes over the offseason, but this is kind of like the last thing that we do as far as redraft's concerned. So the kind of guys we circle and then kind of hone in on and say, oh, hopefully that one pans out well come January. So that's what we got for you folks here. They always pan out.
I said they always pan out. It's a lock.
100%. Take it to the bank. But that's what we got here, folks, for you. Thanks for listening. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on X, whatever you want to call it these days, Instagram. And follow us along. We got plenty more in-season content. We're going to do more Dynasty stuff in season as well in 2025. So we're looking forward to that. But until next time, folks, peace.